All right, you wonderful weirdos, welcome back to another independent comic review. Today, the Mack brothers bring us Gods Among Men. Now, I have to say right up off the bat, two things. One, it's a true story. And at first, when I first saw that tagline in here, I was like, oh, somebody made themselves a hero. I was worried about that. It's not. It's a fantastic book. I'm going to tell you right now, spoiler, it's a fantastic book, even before I tell you what the book's about. Another thing, it's really cool to get this kind of international true life story from other people that we may not get to hear a whole lot here in the U.S. This book takes place in Australia. A couple of things I did not know about this book before we go into a full review of it, and I wish it was kind of explained in the book. One, kind of a time frame. I don't know, like the book deals with the devil's lettuce, weed in the beginning, and something called a Reisburger, which is a rice hamburger sort of thing. This is going to be an odd review. I'm not going to lie to you, right? And I don't know if drugs are illegal there or if the devil's lettuce is illegal there during a certain time frame. I don't really know the severity of what the people are doing in this. That would have been nice. Just a quick shot in the beginning, 1990, 2000, whatever. I kind of wish that was in there. If it was in there, I missed it, but I did read this book twice. Once to do an official review, and the second time just out of pure enjoyment because something amazing happens in this book. I'm going to explain it to you. Our story opens up in Australia, and we have two young men going to a drug house. I assumed to meet a plug. That was me trying to be up to date with verbiage today. Right? And apparently this is a place where you can do all sorts of drugs or whatever, and they're obviously there to pick something up. We don't know what right there in the beginning. And then immediately we go into the story. So it's kind of a foreshadowing of unsavory things that you'll have to do when you get into certain businesses. This book explains the entrepreneurial process in a way that I have never been able to do to people when I'm teaching these type of classes to people. It shows you visually, quick, fast, and in a hurry, where I generally have to take about an hour to do it. So we open up with a brand new burger joint that just opened up, a Reisburger. If you don't know what the Reisburger is, again, it's the rice. They substitute the bun for more of a rice type of, and then you get the meat in between, some vegetables and stuff like that. And it's a unique concept, something that hasn't really taken off here in the U.S., but I do know of it, and I've seen it in other countries. And that was really cool. And again, this is just a young entrepreneur who wants to make good food, get it out there to the public, and turn some profit on it. He also has to take care of his brother, who's a main character in this story, and he also has a child that he has to raise as well. So there's the heart, right? That's the heart. Just a guy trying to make money, to survive, to get his business up off the ground. That's the heart of the story. And the fact that it's a true story, it's so believable. It's so believable. But what ends up happening in here is a couple of local stoners decide to light up their devil's lettuce out in the back part of the burger joint. And the young entrepreneur in this sees the opportunity. Like, he can witness the opportunity. The stoners are here. He doesn't care that they smoke weed. Again, I don't know if it's legal or illegal at this time frame. Don't really know. But he doesn't care. It's like, whatever. They're young kids being young kids in Australia. But he sees the opportunity. He's like, hey, how great would it be if this was that type of place where you can come do that kind of stuff? And then all of a sudden something amazing happens. And I have to explain this entrepreneurial process to you. They break down the math in it. Like that. Like, I know that sounds dumb, right? But I always have to teach people and try to get them out of their imagination land, right? And I'm like, it's not the idea of you selling devil's lettuce or a hamburger or whatever the case may be. That's not the dream, right? That's not the concept, right? That's just an idea. What really sparks the entrepreneurial spirit and you start getting excited is when the math makes sense. And they break down the math in here of how they would get their supply, what the market is, how much the market's willing to spend on it, and even how to upsell inside of that market as well. And everything just kind of starts colliding together to where you, the reader, read this and you're like, damn, that doesn't happen in real life. It does. It's why most thriving, successful businesses actually survive. I'll give you an example. Know your math so well that you can depict every bit of volume that you have, the thing you're selling, out to people, and that every bit of it brings back some sort of profit in some way, shape, or form. In this one, they break down the devil's lettuce down to the gram. I encourage you, as you're watching this, to go measure a gram real quick, gram of anything, and see how little that is. That's how meticulous their math is as they're able to break all this down and know exactly what their market is for that gram, couple of grams, and even how to upsell to some degree, because you are in a safe place to do it, and even give the customer options of having it there or possibly even delivering it. Yeah, you can see why you would go down this route once you read this comic book and why it makes sense in a real life, right? Because cash, right? Cash and money are something we all need. And if it can come just a little bit easier and you can use some of your natural talents to do it, it can be a very lucrative but risky thing, right? Where's the entrepreneurial process kind of fall apart in here is, again, sometimes you're going to have to deal with, in that particular industry, if that's what you want to call it, you may have to deal with some unsavory people. Like a Karen's the least of your concerns in this particular industry, right? And I just thought it was great. And I'm not condoning or going against, the devil's lettuce or any of that stuff. I'm just reviewing a comic book in here and how a very simple process that I find myself having a hard time to explain to people, how it was brought together in a few pages in here. And I was just like, if that was a business plan and they were selling, I don't know, Walkmans, that's not a thing anymore. They were selling a game for a phone, right? The process would be the same. It doesn't matter. If it was the hamburgers, if it was the soup, whatever the case may be, the process is always the same. When you start getting excited about the math and you can see where you can pinch out your change to make profit, how beautiful it was. And this book actually explains it well. Now, again, I'm looking at this from what I do in my personal life. But then again, it is a true story, so I felt I need to look at this in more realistic than I would look at anything else. No woo-woo in this. And it was weird. It was just weirdly good. From the beginning of showing immediately, hey, we're about to say all this stuff, but this is where we're actually going to end up. Just one of the worst little, I'm going to go ahead and call it a crack house. We're past the 30-second mark at this point. I should be all right. YouTube shouldn't demonetize. But ending up in these kind of places and having to deal with these kind of people. And then also having to deal with just the legitimate business side of things too. You got your brother who's kind of sucking down your stock. He's drinking up like all the sweet teas in the place, or tea. That's a concern because that stuff costs money and you're not recouping that cost in any way. It's money out the door because you're not going to charge your brother. A good friend, getting in the business with a friend can be very difficult, especially if they decide to show up late and they have kind of a laxy-daisy attitude, but they're just good people you want to be around. Right? That's a thing. That is a legit thing. This thing screams so much reality into it. It is beautiful. I almost don't want to call it a comic book. I really don't. It's more of a how-to manual of what not to do and what to do. Inside, I just need to go ahead and buy a bunch of copies of this and give it to people and be like, ignore drugs and call it something else. If I could do that, it would be beautiful. But in this, my speculation of the book, and by all means, the creators, let me know if I'm right down below or message me, is that we're kind of seeing this all get put together, and it looks really cool regardless of what the foreshadowing is, but I got a feeling some very bad things are going to end up happening, again, with the nature of the industry that they're kind of substituting their business with. A lot of other things have to start kind of being in play, like laundering money, dealing with unsavory characters, the law, whatever the time frame is there, if it's legal, not legal. Again, that's something I felt like I should have done more research for this, but I didn't want to. Not because I'm lazy, but because I just wanted the comic book to breathe and be itself as a whole. But yeah, all in all, Oh man, this thing is so solid. I'm gonna tell you right now, if you out there right now are like, hey, I don't want to go take a business economics class, just read this comic book. Just read this comic. It will do a better job than I could do all day long. And that's what makes Gods Among Men a fantastic read. I encourage anybody. Again, it's not a superhero story. It's not a horror story. This is somebody's real life. And I promise you, when you read it, you're going to really like, that makes sense. Like Australia, England, Canada, Asia, whatever the case may be, it doesn't really change the situation much. Because it is what it is. It's a devil's lettuce. I really want to chase this down. I really do. I don't want to like get these in order as they come out. I want to grab all these at one time, or possibly in a trade paperback, because I really want this story. I just want to read it through. It's fantastic. Definitely check it out. Hey, all their links are going to be down below. How to get the book, Instagrams, socials, whatever I can find for these guys will be down below. Go check this out, especially if you've ever thought about, what it is to run a business. Well, I can't. Here in America, that's like the dream, right? Open up a business. Take a look at this book. I promise you won't be deterred. You're gonna read it. You're gonna enjoy it. And the fact that it's Australian. One thing I was worried about when I read this, and I realized, this happened in Australia, is I was afraid that everybody would have that Crocodile Dundee accent, right? In my head while I was reading it. They didn't. The dialogue is so sophisticated in this that everybody actually had their own voice, and the fact that they had a character that was Samoan was great. A lot of the lingo, like I don't understand a lot of Australian slang. I don't think anybody does, really. They change some words around. I don't mean that as an insult. They just do. But you can follow this, like G's or grams. You learn a lot of Australian lingo in here too. I think that's kind of cool to kind of learn that kind of stuff. So all in all, fantastic book. I cannot talk. I've talked too much about this book, but I got so much more to say. So to save me from having to tell you about it, go get it yourself. It's fantastic. All right, guys, that's my comic book review of Gods Among Men. I hope you enjoyed it. Definitely, if nothing else, let's give these brothers an opportunity and at least go check out their site and make up your own mind. And if you did read it, definitely let me know in the comments down below what you thought of it. I want to know what other people think about these books that I'm reviewing out there. And don't forget, mind-altering substances. I got some down below. Coffee brand coffee. Caffeine's a mind-altering substance. I also have some Evil Air merch down there as well. If you want to look fresh and clean, but still be evil. Villain evil. I got you covered. With that said, I think that's it. Go read the book. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.